What's going on, everybody? This is going to be a very short but an important update. Right now, the market's trading very technical. We're going to take a look at some important levels over here on the S&P 500. Also on the NASDAQ, on the Dow. We're going to move over to the DXY, gold, silver, and then Bitcoin. We're going to look at it all right now. As I said, the market is trading very technical, giving way to some nice setups over here. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. Over here, we're going to start on the S&P 500. I want you to focus in on what's happening over here. I want you to focus in on this descending wedge over here. I'm highlighting over here. This was the upper resistance. This was the lower the support. You could see that that is a falling wedge over here. It's a bullish continuation pattern. You could see, obviously, the equity markets are an enormously bull run over here. And what has happened, we've broken outside of that pattern over here and then have come into the first resistance. Now, these lines, that prime resistance you're looking at over here was drawn in months ago. That was drawn in all the way back some point in early May. Okay? It's not like it was just drawn in over here. You could see how relevant that has been as support. And then since it is broken, you could see now out of the breakout, we came up into that area over here of resistance. A breakout above this trend line, and I call it the prime trend line because it's the most important one for giving a technical signal of the strength of this bull market over here. If we get back above there, that is extraordinarily bullish for the market over here. And that could send us, even though it seems, when I say it seems that the sentiment right now going into the election is against the equity markets. Nevertheless, we don't care about that. We really only care about not what we want to happen, not what we perceive happening, but what is happening. We're simply following price, and we're ready to trade on both sides. If we break out above that trend line over here, that really opens up some further momentum to the upside. Don't forget, we looked at yesterday's video that we have a record short speculative position on the NASDAQ. A lot of people are definitely short the market right now, perhaps rightfully so if you were to look at it from a logical point of view, but that's not what we do, right? We love when the fundamentals and the technicals line up. We're just looking to stay on the right side of the market. I want you to focus in over here right now what's happening. When I said the markets are trading very technical, we had the breakout out of that descending wedge into resistance, and then you see price, as expected, has fallen down off that resistance. And you can see over here, the support over here, you see that support at 33.39 holding. If price closes above that, very bullish to have held that 33.39 support. Nevertheless, right under it, we still have further support. We're looking for a resumption or for either one of those two levels. What does that mean? That price makes a higher high than the previous price bar. That's a retest and then a resumption up. Would you take this trade right now? Would you take a trade into the resistance over here? I would with a tight stop loss, and by tight stop loss, I mean that the stop loss would be below the entry bar. It's something I'm looking at. I'm only looking right here on the long side of the market, even though we're coming up against this trend line over here, which is resistance. It's because of this descending wedge breakout over here that I'm only taking long, because this is a bullish continuation pattern. Let me go ahead and just highlight that for you right over here. All this area, this descending wedge, the breakout above of it has me only playing the long side of the market unless that breakout fails. And if that breakout fails, there's going to be a lot of momentum to the downside. And the reason I say that is because a lot of traders over here will be caught on the wrong side of the market. That works both ways. It's not just the bears who could get trapped. The bulls could get trapped also. So if this pattern were to fail, and there's no indication that it's failing yet, we'll be looking to aggressively trade to the downside. However, that's not happening right now. We're looking for pullbacks into support and resumptions off of it, as this is a bullish breakout over here to the upside. And technically, this market, again, is trading very beautifully. Let's move over to the NASDAQ and see what happened. Again, when I say this market is trading technically beautifully, do you see over here, this was the channel resistance we had over here. Do you see that price overnight came into that resistance and then backed off, right? Again, the market is trading perfectly technical. And then what happened over here? You can see that price pulled back and is holding that horizontal support. That level is coming in right around 11,280. very, very, very bullish if price resumes off of there. I actually like the NASDAQ over the S&P in this situation over here if we do get a breakout and above that. By the way, the resumption off of this over here is the same thing. It's a higher high than the previous price bar, whether that is the higher than the New York, Asia, or whatever the case may be, a higher high than the previous price bar. Why holding this horizontal support at 11,280 and also this trend line over here? If either one of those two areas hold, this is extremely bullish. I'm looking for the long. If we lose this trend line over here, at that point, that sets me neutral. We're simply in no man's land between resistance up here and support down here, and we will wait and we will monitor what happens next. What about the Dow? Let's take a brief look, and then we're going to get into the DXY next. Again, beautiful. I have a breakout over here. I have price come back in and test my trend line right there. Perfect touch to it, and is now trading back up. A resumption off of this. It's bullish. I like the NASDAQ best, then the S&P, and then the Dow in that order. All three of them, though, looking good here and continuing to prove on their bullish structure. The DXY, it's very important we look at the DXY. This is the US dollar index. Now, heavily weighted towards the euro, no question about it. Let's figure out what's going on over here. We were looking for that retest into 94. So far, 94 has not only broken, that was horizontal support. So in about 15 minutes, I'm going to turn that over to resistance as the daily price bar closes below that broken support. However, notice over here, I'll make it brighter for you because I want you to focus in on what's happening over here with me. I want you to focus in on this trend line right over here. And let me just go ahead and make that a little bit darker for you and myself as well. And I want you to focus in right there. You see this line over here? This was resistance, and now this should be support. Breaking and closing also below that line over here, this line of support. That sets up a retest of 93.55. If we hold this over here and resume off of this, that is entirely bullish for the DXY. We had a breakout over here. We had a retest and a resumption off. That should take us back towards the 94.70 swing high over here, and possibly after that into 94.50. I'm not saying that's as high as the DXY will go. That's what we're looking to target. This is big resistance over here. We want to see how price reacts, whether or not it's able to break above, right? And then we'll look at upside targets over there, which is between 96 and 96.40, or if it's rejected over here at this resistance, right? If it's rejected over here, we'll have to watch and see what happens from there. Now, it's possible over here, if we close below this support over here and test 93.50, if 93.50 breaks, I'm going to say that this was a false breakout over here, a false counter trend move, and the bearishness, the bearish structure to the dollar that we have been following ever since it broke down since the end of May, right over there, is back in place, which means that we could very easily be testing the yearly lows and then taking out those yearly lows and trading lower. It's a fluid situation. That's why we're monitoring it every day. We're at an important juncture right over here. These levels should provide your risk management for you. Very, very important. Speaking of the DXY, it right now is trading, and it does not always trade in a adverse correlation to the dollar. But right now, gold and silver are trading very, 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 very much with that relationship. Now, if you go back to January, February of 2020, you could see that while the dollar was super strong, gold was stronger. Okay, that relationship doesn't always exist. It exists right now. You could see this is almost the inverse of what we were just looking at on the DXY. You could see as the dollar is coming back and testing that trend line, gold right here is closing above this trend line right here. This is a very important level for gold. You could see it's coming in right here at, let's call it, let me call it over there at 1890, 1891. That's the trend line over there. You could see that over here. And let me zoom out a little bit. This was all support. Look at that. Support, support, support. Tom, by the way, thank you for the share on that. That was all support. After it broke over here, we're looking for that to become resistance. If we close above it today, by the way, that is taking back another bit, repairing a little bit of the damage that was done to the technical bullish nature here we were experiencing on gold. That's a plus in the column for gold. And then all it needs to do is take out the right over here, this resistance at 1904. Taking out that resistance at 1904 would put back the technical bull market 100% back in place on gold. Let me just, I made that green. I don't mean to do that. I wanted to make it thicker for you because it's an important line to watch out over here. Okay, I'll tell you the one on silver in 1 second, but it's 1904 here on gold. It's not only regaining this trend line, because what we expect is the first look we're rejected, right? Look for a rejection here, and then look for a retest of this support right here. You can see this was all support after it broke. It should hold as resistance, only it's not. You can see there was one test over there, that down price bar right there. Here we're breaking back above it. If this continues to hold, once we close above 1904, gold has repaired all the damage to done. Then you have the technicals matching up with the fundamentals. I will be looking to get back established some paper positions on gold for sure. What about silver? The line in the sand, we're getting close to it. We're getting very close to it right now. We're looking at 2450. That is the resistance over here. Let me make this bigger, and then I want to show you also the trend line. It's also coinciding with that exact level. It's a big level here on silver, 2450. You see right above it, it's coming in a little higher right now, 2476, that trend line. If silver is able to regain both those levels, that's going to be very, very bullish here on silver. You can see if I zoom out over here, that's the trend line that I'm talking about over here. This was all resistance on the way up, and then over here it held as support and then broke. Now you can see this lower trend line. This was pointed out during the live stream. Someone said, hey, Jordan, go ahead and clone the trend line you have over here. Let's connect it to the bottom channel. And you can see so far that's where it's held. Okay. Nevertheless, in order for this thing to look like it's super bullish again, we need to break back above here. Interesting times as right now, the DXY is at this critical juncture where we could see that dollar strength continue and resume out of, or we could have a failed breakout. Same thing with silver and gold. They're at a point where they could be rejected over here by this resistance and roll over, or they could regain their strength. Okay? There's a lot of clarity in the market right now. There's a lot of clarity. Position yourself accordingly, but wait to pull that trigger. That's what makes or breaks traders. It's those that are able to have that patience to wait until it's time to attack. You're getting very close over here. The market is actually very clear. Let me follow over here on Bitcoin over here, and just a quick heads up on Bitcoin. We've seen what seems to me like a lot of the market makers here on Bitcoin are trying to shake a lot of traders out. Now, generally speaking, that's the sign of a big up move to come. Now, technically, we have over here the 10,570 support holding, and as long as it does, that's a great entry into Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. I just want to show you this lower trend line over here. If this trend line was to break, or to keep it easier, if we break below 10,000, call it the whole number 100, a break below 10,100, that would probably open up at least a test down over here of 9,400. Okay, in this area over here against this trend line, we could go as low as 8,800. I would not be surprised if either one of those things happen. Not only would I not be surprised, you would not be surprised, as that is only right over there. What is it? A 25%, I'm sorry, 8,800, right? That is a 30% pullback, 29 and change pullback from the all-time high. Something that we expect during the bull market phase is going to happen multiple times. Okay. Now, should you have orders over there? I think so, because I think if we trade down there, it's going to be a big wick that we trade down there briefly. You're not going to have time to go ahead and place those orders manually, in my opinion. In my opinion, above this trend line is another good place to have orders for sure. In my opinion, buying here at the market is a fantastic entry into Bitcoin. 10,750 Bitcoin. I tell you what, soon enough, as we're breaking 13,000 and 14,000 Bitcoin, anyone who do not pick up as much Bitcoin they can at these prices and at market right now, 10,750, is going to be wishing that they picked up more. Listen, everyone has their own opinion, right? I'm just trying to look at the markets here through just through what's happening on the charts, right? With Bitcoin, if you're not familiar with, go to the playlist on the channel, look for the Bitcoin playlist. The first 5 videos are going to give you a really good education onto the 4-year cycle in Bitcoin. There are some theories out there about whether or not we're experiencing a lengthening cycle, the lengthening cycle theory, or whether or not we're going to continue within the current expansion during this bull phase that we're seeing. Right? You have to consider you have to always consider all, especially the other side of your trade. Now, the lengthening cycle theory would not be the other side of the trade in this case, right? Nevertheless, you always want to be aware of whatever your position is, especially when we're talking about investments here, not talking about swing trades. You always want to know the other side to your trade and be as familiar with that understanding, that narrative as your own. However, and that could be an individual video in itself because it's something that we have to be aware of. In my opinion, if we're entering the lengthening cycle, and we're going to find out pretty soon, right? Within about another year and a half, whether or not that's the case, my 140,000 price target in the winter of 2021 still stands. If we enter the lengthening cycle theory or not. So that's what I'm focused in on over here with all of you. Listen, everyone, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and smash the like button. I look forward to seeing you all in the morning to continue this. Have a great day, everybody.